Welcome everybody. My name is Mary Burnett. I am your astrologer and I am back again with the messages for the week of September 23rd, which is that week in between eclipses. So as of the 17th, we had a partial full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. And on October 2nd, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. So this is that in-between energy where we are being guided on the direction that we need to be heading, that of course is tied to our fate. And we move between a north node with the full moon, and then the new moon has the south node. So this is a letting go energy. And so we may begin to see this week what those things are that we need to be letting go in order to achieve our destiny. And so welcome to those that are new to my channel. I would love it if you would go ahead and click on that subscribe button below. Like, comment, share my work, and please go out to my website, marylyburnett.com, and become a member there as well. Then you will get written content like my monthly horoscope that is already available for the month of October, as well as the new moon solar eclipse article and the full moon in Aries article. Those will all be happening in the month of October. And if you want to go back over any of the months in the previous year, all of those are still available on my website as well, and it's all for free. And then of course you can look at my content on YouTube here that can help you navigate as well. I will do a tarot card reading for every sign as well. So you get this astro lesson, and then separately, you also get a tarot card reading. So be sure and look at that. The link will be at the end of this video as well. All right. So with that, I always use the Astro Gold software. I break it down day by day, focusing mostly on the main events. But again, if you want more details, and in case I don't cover something in this video, but it's something that's still important, you will find it out there in my September monthly horoscope article that again is on my website, marylyburnett.com. All right. I also still have my special offers out there if you want to dive deep into these eclipses. There's a lot going on, and in fact, it might benefit you if you haven't seen it already to go back and review the full moon lunar eclipse, because I talk a lot about some really important energy and shifts that are going on at this time. So with that, let us get started with Monday, which of course is September 23rd. It's the last week of September. I don't know about you, but this year has been flying by, and I'm a person who loves to decorate, and I decorate early, so I'm already counting down until I can put out my Halloween decorations, which seems absolutely insane because I swear I was just putting all my decorations away. It's a crazy busy year for sure. But on Monday, as we start, and if you watched me last week, I said we're going to talk a little bit more about Venus, and Venus specifically moving into the sign of Scorpio. Now, if you are an astrology fan, you may have heard comments like Venus is at her fall when in Scorpio, because Venus energy is the opposite sign. It's in Taurus. That's where it's at home. It's where it's stronger. And so whenever we have a planet that has to face its dark side or its weak side, we say it's at fall. Now, personally, I just think that that means that there's a lot that Venus has to work on, and individually we have to work on too, because this is not where we have good muscles, right? This is where we're weak, and we have to do more to work with this planet. Now, love, right? If we just focus on the love perspective of Venus in the sign of Scorpio, is a little mysterious, right? But it's also very intense. Is a sign that is all about rebirth and transformation, death. And so when Venus is in Scorpio, it's so intense that it's so heavy. That's why it doesn't feel comfortable. So if you're born with Venus in the sign of Scorpio, well, love for you needs to be intense. It also needs to offer you a lot of variety and a lot of change. And that can show up as a lot of different partners, or it can show up in lots of changes within your existing relationship if you want to keep it going for the long run. So it's a very intense energy. Intimacy is so important, but you have to be careful when you have the Scorpio energy and it's in one of your relationship houses, or as I mentioned, it's Venus, because you can crave so much intensity that you are the one who creates drama just because you want to feel something so intense all the time. And that's not really fair to your partner. So if you're one of those people that gets caught in that cycle where you have to create drama because you have to feel something so intensely, you need to spend the next 3 weeks while Venus goes through the sign of Scorpio and thinking about ways that you can create intensity without creating drama. How can you create excitement that doesn't have to be negative or feel like a crisis, right? Because that's the other thing with Scorpio energies where a crisis is something that we can solve and we can come back from, but it is like a never ending cycle and it's not healthy. So you have 3 weeks to think about that, to work with this Venus energy and decide how you can create intensity that isn't drama or trauma driven, and instead figure out what it is that you love. What are you passionate about? What do you live for, right? You can approach it differently, and this just can be a good learning time to do that. Now, Venus has been having a difficult conversation with Pluto at that 29th anaretic degree, and it's in a square. And that started when Venus was finishing up her time in her home sign of Libra last month. So we have these few days of this, again, difficult understanding of what love is, what's its purpose. And if you're not taking love seriously or money, right, then this conversation with Pluto is like, why are you holding back? What are you afraid of? And it forces you and pushes you to face your fears and do something different. So we've been in this energy for a few days, and now it's slowly starting to dissipate. We also last week saw the fall equinox, equal parts day and night, depending on where you're at, either the northern hemisphere, where now it's the beginning of fall, and then in the southern hemisphere, right, the beginning of spring. So we are making changes, and Libra is a cardinal sign. And so now it's about taking action. All the cardinal signs are about starting something. That's why they're all in the change of season signs. And so the sun in Libra, we're taking action, right, on our relationships, on legal issues, on restoring balance. And the sun's our ego self. It's what we need to feel successful, right? And so there's something about relating to other people that becomes important over this next month as the sun moves here through the sign of Libra. So again, 2 major shifts, the sun and Venus, both changing signs as we moved off of the lunar eclipse, and we're in this in-between area. What are we going to do? What are we going to start? What are we going to learn? What are we going to investigate? All of those things become important to us. Okay, that's Monday. Let's move to Tuesday. As we move into Tuesday, we're going to start talking about Mercury, of course, rules communication, and it is still in its home sign of Virgo, where it really helps us focus in on all the details and get super organized. I'm personally a Virgo rising, and this time with Mercury in Virgo for me has had me completely change the aesthetic around my house in little ways, but just moving a painting or rearranging a room, it changes the chi, the energy, and the flow. And so Mercury in Virgo is all about clearing clutter, getting reorganized, and it's doing that for the next few days as it's about to finish its time at home. And then it will move also into Libra. Always the Sun, Venus, and Mercury are within 4 signs of each other. They never get farther apart than that because of their rotation around the Sun. So at this time on Tuesday, we're starting to see this connection between Mercury and Uranus. And Uranus is surprises. It's a combination that can bring unexpected truths and information to the surface. So this will all have to do with whatever the houses are that are being activated. A trine is supportive energy. It presents an opportunity to you, but you, of course, have to take advantage of that opportunity. Mercury is also about learning. Virgo's about being of service. It's about health. This would be a great time to start or kick off a new health regime, for instance, and you would come across the information that you need for your health in an unexpected or surprising way. So that is where we are headed on Tuesday. The other thing, and I don't talk about it all the time, but whenever the moon is squaring with the nodes, it can bring some kind of an emotional change. And when it squares both of them, it, of course, creates a T-square. So there's some kind of an emotional pressure. And there's something that you need to do to change the way you're feeling about something. You're stuck somewhere. And it could, again, have to do with your health. And so there's something, again, that you learn and you feel driven to make a big change on. And you will want to do that on this day. All right. Like me changing my hair, because I swear I keep seeing one in front of me. All right. Oh, Virgo things. Let's move on to Wednesday. All right. On Wednesday, again, if you watched my video last week and we talked about the lunar eclipse, I talked about this formation, which looks like a kite. And you can see a picture of it right here, right? The red line is that backbone that you need for your kite to fly straight. You have the supporting bridge here with these planets of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, right? All these outer planets that are speaking in harmony to one another. They're doing the work behind the scenes that help lift this kite, this opportunity up for you. What changes since the lunar eclipse, we had the sun at the tail end, right? What's driving your kite? Now we have Mercury at that 29 degrees. And at 29 degrees, of course, it is speaking in harmony with Pluto, which of course is still retrograde. It will stay retrograde until the 11th, and then we're moving forward and we're moving on. But there's something about the work that you've been doing since 2008 that you need to start putting into practice now. So what house has this been for you? Capricorn's work, ethical work, government, structures. Pluto's tearing them all down so they can be rebuilt again, stronger. So again, Mercury's the information, the ideas, the organization. What is it that you need to lift your idea up off the ground? You're going to figure that out on this day when these planets are speaking harmoniously with one another. And of course, across the sky from Mercury is that Neptune energy, which was activated by the eclipse. So this, again, whatever you worked on and let go of at the time of the lunar eclipse, well, when you let something go, an opportunity to come in and fill that space presents itself. And that happens today. So there is something throughout the day on Wednesday that is tied to that eclipse work that you were doing. And you, again, have to show up. Remember I said you got to create the tension on the kite. You got to pull that string. You got to find the wind. And you got to lift this idea up off the ground in order to take advantage of it. Okay, so it's another big day. As we move forward, we are going to be on Thursday seeing Mercury move into the sign of Libra. Now, Mercury moves, pretty quickly. It's like Venus, spends about 3 weeks in each sign. And so now we've got, like I mentioned, Mercury, the Sun, and we've just moved on Venus, but we still have the South Node here, of course, which we will through the end of the year. These three are going to keep moving closer together until we get to Mercury Cazimi with an eclipse. And everything's gonna, we've talked about October surprise. We are definitely going to have an October surprise, and it's related to the past and your karmic past and information about relationships. And we already know there's some people in famous positions that are experiencing this kind of karma. This is why, right? We have to have the big things come up, and at the end of the day, we have to be held accountable. So there will be more surprises like that have to do with relationships and things that were unfair in relationships in the past, and they will be exposed. So this is just the beginning of that work. Mercury will spend 3 weeks going through here, and dialogue in your relationships will also become really important. Information about relationships will be important, and information about justice and the law and lawsuits will become important as well. On this day too, it's brief, but we will see, of course, the moon in Cancer, its home sign, having a bit of a face-off with Pluto in Capricorn. So always intense, no matter what planet is facing off against Pluto. So there's some intensity on this day emotionally because of the conversation these two are having. Okay, let's jump into Friday. All right. As I was writing the article for, of course, September and October, it was interesting to see this long conversation that is going on with Jupiter in the sign of Gemini and Chiron in Aries, which is retrograde, which it stays till the end of the year. So it's a sextile. So there's this subtle support. Chiron was a coach, trainer of the gods, was the energy of our wounds, right, that we carry with us. And our goal when we work with Chiron and Aries is to understand how we are hurting ourselves when it comes to being confident and strong and independent. And then Jupiter, this great benefic teaching energy, our connection to spirit, right? They're working together to help us understand what we need to know so that we can finish this work and stop carrying it with us. And this connection, they're going to march from this 21 degrees, and then they're both going to move to 22. And then Jupiter's going to go retrograde at 22. And so they've got this very long conversation for a reason. And we're going to see that reason unfold and why it's taking so long to unfold gradually throughout this end of September period, and then I think through most of October. So it's really important to be open-minded, to be open to learning, and to truly be open to learning from others, right? Because if we think about Jupiter, a great benefic who teaches us lessons, and Chiron, that coach, it's other people that are helping provide us with the information and the lessons that we need to better understand ourselves, to gain more confidence. So it's a good time over this next month to seek help from other people. If you're feeling stuck and stagnant, this is why I do astrology readings with people, because this self-awareness that you get when you understand, oh, this is just how I'm wired. This is how I'm made. There's nothing wrong with me. this is just the energy that I have, and I need to learn how to work with it, like I described Venus at the beginning. It's not a good or a bad. It just is what I have. And when I learn how to work with the energy that I have and the lessons that I've been given, life becomes easier. And sometimes it's just changing your mindset and knowing this is who you are and accepting it, that just makes the work so much easier. So something like that may be part of the journey that you are on. And there's something here important that you need to learn. And you've got to pay attention to the details. You've got to see both sides when it comes to Jupiter and Gemini. There's two sides to every story. And we're going to see what we allow other people to do to us that take away our confidence, and how do we stop that? So lots of things to uncover, but this is the beginning of that exact sextile where these two are meeting up, where we have some things to begin to learn. So that's the biggest energy that we see on Friday. So let's take a look at Saturday. Now on Saturday, and even a bit on Friday, because I have this set kind of late in the day, we're going to see that Venus in Scorpio is beginning, and you can see it faintly on the screen, to have an odd conversation with the North Node. And the reason I'm calling it out on Saturday is at the same time, and why this day is important, is because here we have the Sun meeting exactly with the South Node. This is a very karmic, personal experience. So wherever house this is activating, the Sun and the South Node, our karma is being cleansed, right, by the Sun. There is a rebirth, right? So that means, of course, something has to be released in order for us to get on that path, that North Node and Aries path that I just talked about with Chiron and Aries as well. And Venus plays an interesting, odd role in helping you resolve this karma. And it could be a woman in particular, a woman in power, because Scorpio, of course, is power. A woman who's behind a person in power may have an important role in dissolving something karmic for you, for the collective. She may have information that she needs to bring to the surface that would help hold somebody accountable, as I mentioned earlier, that hasn't been treating people well as far as, being in relationships. So this one, again, will be interesting to watch from a collective perspective. But I do think a woman in a position of power will be highlighted at this time. I think that's the biggest piece, that I wanted to talk about. Now, the last caveat to that is with the new Moon Solar Eclipse happening here in Libra on the 2nd, involving the South Node, this feels like the setup. So you're going to see here, a few days before or after this moment, what that eclipse is about for you. And the eclipse will happen in that 10, 11 degree of Libra energy. So any planets you have around 10 and 11 degrees in your chart, especially in Libra, will get a direct hit. And a South Node is always what we have to let go of. It's our karma. It's the past. And in order to have that new beginning that's created by the new moon, when the moon will also be joining here, as I mentioned, in a couple of days with the Sun. Again, this is why eclipses, for some of us, right, because of how close they happen to other natal planets in our chart, can be so life-changing, because it's all this fate and destiny that's being activated. And sometimes it changes because of what's changing for other people around us, and we're impacted. This will be notable, right? Because at the time, and we'll talk more about this next week, and I'll probably do the same thing as I did, and I'll create a separate video for just this new moon solar eclipse, because we're going to talk about the fact that we've got Mercury, we've got the sun, we've got the moon, and we've got the South Node all in Libra at the same time. So this is like mind-blowing change that is potentially possible for us. And again, if you have your sun, your moon, your rising, a planet at 10, 11 degrees of Libra, you're going to notice it most intensely if you happen to have your nodes in Aries and Libra, either direction, right? You could even have your South Node in Aries and your North Node in Libra. You're going to notice something about your fated journey and path that is coming up for a resolution. And it's what we clear away that's going to allow this new beginning in. So, long story short, as I'm getting distracted, this day is a clue to what that is going to be about. And so, just like with the lunar eclipse, if you're seeing things, being driven to do particular things, don't question it. You just have to go with it. Because this is a time of signs, synchronicities, serendipity, right? Because it's fate. And fate presents the opportunity. Of course, we have the free will to decide how we're going to respond to it, but we can't really undo what is supposed to happen at this time. So let it go. Don't try to hang on to things that don't belong to you anymore, and let the doors open to what is. So pay attention on Saturday to what needs to be released, and then see how this gets resolved and where that new beginning can show up for you as of the 2nd. So that is a big deal and a big opportunity that we obviously don't want to miss. And then as we move on to Sunday, you're just going to see now it's Mercury's turn to be exactly conjunct. So this whole weekend leading up to the eclipse on the 2nd, you're being shown everything you need to know. The information about the past, the conversations, I'm going to be fascinated to see what it is that, comes up for release at this time, what information gets released. And again, Libra is justice, it's balance, it's fairness, it's the law, and it's relationships, it's marriage, it's contracts, right? And the South Node is the past. Mercury's information and communication. I guarantee you, information from the past is going to come up and get exposed, and it will end some relationships and some partnerships because they are no longer destined to be together. And it will come up in a weird, strange way because we have the moon in Virgo making this inconjunct angle to the North Node. So Sunday is a power-packed day. Add to that, because there's never enough going on in a single day, we have Saturn, still retrograde, having a strong conversation with Mars. So Mars and Saturn, when they work together, and you've heard my analogy before about the brake, the clutch, the gas, right? So you know exactly what to do and how to move forward when Saturn and Mars work together. Like, even if you never drove a stick shift in your life, you would sit down, get in the car, and know exactly what to do. That's what this energy will feel like on Sunday. So whatever comes up, whatever you learn from all of this fated activity, Saturn and Mars together are going to show you how to move forward and move on. Mars is going to give you the motivation, the passion, the emotional charge you need to get out of a situation where you feel stuck. And then Saturn has the plan, right? Here's exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, how you need to do it. All you need to do is follow my plan and you will be successful. And again, all while Jupiter and Chiron are coaching you and guiding you and teaching you what you need to do as well. So this is a really big, pivotal day. I'm fascinated for the week ahead. I'm sure you are as well. So again, look at these houses where you have Libra, where you have Aries, where you have Pisces, where you have Cancer, right? Your chart is being activated in a big way, and you will want to understand it for sure. So, guess what next week is? Let's take a quick peek. Monday's just the setup. Again, the plan is starting to unfold for you. And then, as I mentioned, I will come back and do the video where we talk about this new moon solar eclipse conjunct with Mercury and the South Node. And my, oh my, is it going to get interesting? So we'll talk through it. Like I mentioned, I'll go through it in the standalone video. I will do a breakdown for every sign on what you might expect. And as this is the last eclipse here in the sign of Libra, this is the end of the work that you've been guided to do over the last year and a half. So it's really important, right? You want to close this chapter. You don't want to continue something that's not successful for another 19 years until we have the set of eclipses show up for us again, right? Now they can confront us in the next 9, but this is it. Finish the work. That's the most important thing I can caution you about. Finish the work. You'll be glad that you did. All right. And if you need to know how best to do the work, book a session with me. Like I said, I've got special pricing out there for you, and I might even be dipping it even lower because I can already tell people are starting to feel the change, and I want to help you guys navigate through the change as much as I can. So watch for another discount, and you'll want to take advantage of it. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate all of your likes and comments and feedback. As always, please share this, and don't forget to watch the tarot card reading for the week as well, because again, this week is the transition week as you get ready for this big new beginning and learn what you need to learn along the way. All right. I'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Bye-bye. Be sure and check out your weekly tarot card messages as well. Those, along with this astro lesson, are going to give you the big picture. Thanks again for tuning in. Talk to you next week.